So today we're talking about balancing the time, life, and business challenges. Whether you're just getting started in business or you've been doing it for decades, it is always tricky to balance time because we're focusing on doing the work and also growing the business. And if you're just getting started, you've got cash flow challenges and you're trying to figure out how to make money, but you're trying to get the work done and you have to build all of these things, and it's really tricky. So, we're going to try to help you through that. But the first thing is the trickiness is not you, it is that tricky, it is challenging. Most of what we know about time and productivity comes from our professional lives. And as one of our members recently reminded, culturally in school and how our families operate, most of those techniques don't work very well when you're a founder. You've got to develop some new skills. So when I had this epiphany, I failed miserably in 2002 and 2003 when I first became an entrepreneur. And in spite of my corporate success, most of my corporate skills did not transfer to entrepreneurship. So then I figured out how to make it work. And then I ran into a new set of challenges where it just felt really hard. And what I want to walk you through is how to scale it with more ease. And how I got this, I always look for analogies, is I started thinking about rock climbing. And as much as I love rock climbing, I find it very hard. But what I was taught in rock climbing is take a step back and just look for the first most simple step. So I started thinking about that as an entrepreneur. This feels hard. How can I just take a step back and think about what is the most logical step? And that's when I realized that building a business will always feel hard, but we can make it simple. Now, I want to be clear, building a business is not easy, but we can make it simple with just a few things. The first thing that I realized is that there's a fulcrum in entrepreneurship that we're not used to experiencing. A fulcrum is like the center point of a seesaw where it goes back and forth, back and forth. And it's usually the strongest piece of metal or plastic on the seesaw. And in entrepreneurship, the fulcrum is this pressure point between two opposing forces in your business. And those two forces are demand, the business revenue each month, and supply, how you service that product, either through product inventory or service capacity. So those two things are always in conflict. They're always opposing each other. That right there is why it feels so difficult. If I don't have enough demand, which is people that want to buy from me, then I have too much supply, I have too much time. But when I start to generate demand, then I don't have enough time or resources or money, can go down the list. So these two things, supply being time, resources, money, are always in opposition of demand. This is very different than having a professional role. In a professional role, you put your time in, you do the work, you get your check. That is not the way that entrepreneurship works. In entrepreneurship, you have to put a lot of time in before you start to get money. And then when you start to get money because you've got clients, then you don't have enough time. And so this opposition, these fulcrums, you're going to go through several fulcrums. Only you know where you are in your business. The first one I call the time fulcrum. This is typically when your business is under 10K a month. And in the time fulcrum, you're like, okay, go get the work. And then it's like, oh, I got the work. And then I'm busy doing the work. And then that project is over or that inventory is gone. And then I don't have any more work. And that get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work is very disorienting. And you get stuck in this treadmill of get the work, do the work. And it just feels like there's not enough time to work on the business, much less grow it. In addition to this, there is this tendency to not get immediate satisfaction, especially when you're first building the business, where you have to start your networking and start your social media and all these things you have to do, but you don't immediately get paid for that. That is very disorienting. And that is why most people tend to quit in what we call the launch and lift phases, which is 0 to 10K a month, because they're in this time fulcrum where the supply and demand doesn't match up and it just never works right. And it feels like, oh, I just can't do this. And I remember telling myself that in 2002 and 2003. And older than I look, I've been doing entrepreneurship for a long time. And I almost quit. I mean, literally, I started to apply for jobs and I almost gave up because I just couldn't manage past this phase. And it just felt wrong. It felt like I was doing it wrong. It felt hard. It felt like there was something wrong with me. And part of what I like to help people understand is it's not you. This is the way that it's supposed to be. So that's the first fulcrum you're going to go through. The second fulcrum you're going to go through, I call the resource fulcrum. The resource fulcrum happens somewhere between 10 to 30K a month. And as I mentioned, 91.5% of the members that use ShiftCo have doubled their revenue, and the vast majority of them are well beyond the 10K a month level. Not everybody, but the vast majority. And they run into this resource fulcrum. This resource fulcrum is even more tricky than the time fulcrum because you get into this, I call it Groundhog Day. It's like, oh, it's working. No, it's not. Oh, it's working. No, it's not. Oh, and you go through these loops and it just literally feels like this constant setbacks, which feels like Groundhog Day. And it feels like there's not enough resources, time, money, people, systems to scale the business easy. And this is typically the second place that most people want to quit their business. And I've been there as well. In fact, I have two businesses that are in this right now. And it's super, super, super tricky. So that is that fulcrum. The last fulcrum, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on. This is typically when your business is really scaling and it's starting to become a little more fun. And that's the leadership fulcrum. The majority of the people that attend the productivity hacks are not in this. If you are, let me know, and I'll be happy to do some, a free coaching session to help you get through this. So now, what are these hacks? How do I do this? How do I make what feels hard simple? And I want to say that again. We're talking today about how do I make what feels hard simple, not easy. If you're in entrepreneurship and you're wanting it to be easy, you might as well just go get a job right now because it is not easy. But we can make it simple. So this idea of making it simple and I say, how can we make it easy? I mean that as a joke. One is that what I've really learned about scaling multiple companies, and I have probably coached maybe 3,000 founders in the 18 years that I've been doing what I'm doing through Succeed on Purpose and ShiftCo and our investments, is you want to work only on what you need versus doing everything. The tendency is to think you have to do it all. And what I've learned is there's only a couple of things that you need to master at each level. And you also need to get very comfortable with the fact that nothing is going to feel like it's completely done for a while. So that's my first tip. The second one is learn only what you need to know, not everything. And this is the exact opposite of our professional careers. In our professional careers, we're usually punished for not knowing things. In entrepreneurship, you actually get punished for trying to learn too much too quickly. There's just too much you need to learn. The third is solve well-known breakpoints early. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this session. And then lastly is part of the reason why ShiftCo is a community is if you can just be surrounded by people who've done it, you'll find that you don't feel alone. You'll find a lot of camaraderie. And you'll find that, no, I'm not crazy. Other people said they struggled with the same thing. So that's the easy, I mean simple overview. But I want to introduce you to 5 productivity hacks. The first one is invest versus spend time. This is probably one of the biggest breakthroughs that I had that made building a business more simple as I rethought the way I think about time. Second is make moves versus be in motion. Third is know your flow, about how you work. 4 is how to use time chunks or time blocks. And then 5 is a principle called do, delegate, or drop. So let's start with investing versus spending time. Again, this was the biggest breakthrough that I had as a founder. I use this today on a regular basis. And so what you do is you have to remember that entrepreneur time is unique. It doesn't work the same. And so when you think about the words that most people use to describe time, the top three are spend time, use time, and waste time. And I hear this with founders all the time. I wasted a lot of time on social media, or I used up a lot of time on something that didn't work, or, I don't have the time to spend on that. And what was my big breakthrough in terms of understanding time is it's a fallacy because you're going to have to spend time doing things you like and doing things you dislike. That doesn't feel good, but you are going to have to do it. You're going to have to spend time doing things you like and doing things you dislike. When I first started, I did not like networking. When I first started, I did not like selling. What I learned how to do is invest time, and over time, I learned how to like some of those activities. The second thing is, as an entrepreneur, what you're really doing is you want to learn how to invest time wisely, not spend, not use, not worry about waste, but invest time wisely. Time as an entrepreneur is valuable when it's invested versus spent in areas that create impact. And the value increases when those time investments are measured and managed. So how do you do that? First, you have to think about what your time is worth. What is 1 hour of your time worth? How you calculate that is you put in, and I have a little tool if anybody's interested. You put in how much money you want to make per year, and you divide that by 2080. That's how many working hours there are typically available in a year. And then how many hours do you want to work? And then where do you want to invest each hour? So for me, based on how much money I want to make and how many hours I want to work, every block of time is worth $100. So I have $100 bill sitting here on my computer, and I look at everything, this webinar as an example. I'm investing an hour of time with you. Is that worth $100 to me? Okay. And then I think every week, every month, every day, when I look at my calendar, is this the right investment of my time? I'll give you an example of that. Sometimes when we're posting on social media, we get sucked into social media. And all of a sudden, I'll be on there like an hour. And I went from doing the networking on social media and doing the lead follow-up on social media to looking at videos and getting sucked into some crazy conversation. I'm able to catch myself now within about 5 minutes because I know that is not a good investment of time. So you've got to think about what your time leaks are. Where do you get lost? Some people, it's analysis paralysis. Some people, it's I'm not sure what to do. So I run around and I do stuff, but I don't really do anything. Some people, it's social media. They get sucked into social media. Some people, it's they spend more time on things that they really need because they're trying to perfect it. So you have to know what your time leaks are. And for me, putting this $100 bill right on my computer, I also have one in my phone, all of the places, all of the things that I'm touching on a regular basis. And before I go to a networking event, I look at that $100 bill and say, I'm going to spend an hour at this event. I want to make sure I get $100 back from it because time is an investment. It's not something that we spend. So that's number one. Number two is making moves versus being in motion. The biggest time suck for most entrepreneurs is they end up getting in motion versus making moves. This is what I call the athlete's advantage. Athletes are 3 times more successful in entrepreneurship than non-athletes. That fascinated me when I found that out. And what I discovered is the reason why athletes are more successful is in part because they've learned resiliency and mindset management and nervous system regulation. But the other thing is to be successful as an athlete, you can't waste energy. So athletes have conditioned their mind and their body to make moves versus be in motion. What do I mean by that? Motion is the act or process of moving. That's Webster's definition. Doing stuff. I'm doing stuff. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm answering email. I'm over here on social media. That is motion. And motion, although it feels good in your nervous system, it doesn't really move the business forward. A move is to go from one place to another. And if you think about an athlete, they don't waste energy, whether they're an elite runner, a basketball player, a football player, a tennis player. Every move that they make, they want to have the maximum benefit. They don't want to waste energy. They don't want to take extra steps. They don't want to do extra things. So, kind of a gut check for you is, are you in motion, meaning you're doing stuff, or are you making moves? Things that look like motion are dilly-dallying. I'm doing this and then I'm stopping and then I'm going and I'm going to go feed the dog. And you're not really thinking about moving your business forward. The beautiful thing about making moves is once you train your mind and your body and your focus on making moves, you get super efficient. And now you start to maximize that 1 hour investment, and your ROI goes up significantly when you train your mind and your body and your focus ability to make moves. These athletes' advantage, moves are effort with intention. So what do I mean by that? When I go on social media, I set an intention. I'm going to respond to prospective leads. I'm going to make a couple of posts and I'm going to respond on posts, and then I'm going to get out. So I know what I'm doing when I go on social media. And again, occasionally I get sucked into some conversation or some video sequence, but I know how to get myself out of it in usually 5 to 10 minutes. So that's effort with intention. If I go to a networking event, I go to the networking event and say, I want to meet 5 people and I want to walk away with 3 valuable contacts. So I have an intention. I'm not just doing it randomly. Moves are also measurable. I like to put measures to them because they keep me very accountable. I'm going to spend 30 minutes on social media or 1 hour on social media, and I'm going to accomplish these things. That's what effort with intention means. And so you'll have like a daily do list, or what I call 3 good moves per day. If you just make 3 good moves per day in your business that move your business forward, you're going to start maximizing time and get an ROI in your time. The way to do that is to look at any action that you're taking and say, will this move me towards my goal? If it does, invest the time. If it doesn't, it's actually a motion and not a move. The third hack is I call it know your flow. We're all very different. And one of the beautiful things about ShiftCo is, although we have core things that we teach, all of the coaching is done individually. So when you're working with us, you're working with a one-on-one with a coach and whatever the skill area is. And the reason for that is we do not believe under any circumstance that any 2 businesses are the same, nor do we believe that any 2 entrepreneurs are the same. What do I mean by that is we all have a different flow. What are your natural rhythms? Are you an early morning person or a late evening or a night owl? What's your best work cycle, creative versus analytical? You really want to pay attention to that. I know that there are certain things I do really well in the morning. I know there are some things I cannot do in the afternoon. And so I put other things there. And I know if I work past a certain time, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I've built my calendar around those natural rhythms. You may be the exact opposite. You may get your best work may be at night. You may be a night owl. You may find that your creativity time is better in the middle of the day, and you really need a break in the morning or a break in the afternoon. Just know what it is. I also recommend scheduling a set time each week to plan your week. I do that usually on Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoons, I'll check email and then I'll look at my calendar for the week, and I look at my investments and say, are these a good investment? Sometimes meetings will pop on my calendar. Somebody's trying to sell me something, or they want me to review something and it's not really a good investment, and I'll move it out. because I'm reviewing my calendar each week and I've got a set time to do that, a disciplined time to do that, I don't waste time. Also, know thyself. Where do you get stuck? Call out the resistance by name. Do you find that you get defocused easily? Don't just accept that. Find a way to change it. Do you find that you get into analysis paralysis, or you tell yourself the story, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything? Really look at those things. It's called metacognition. Really look at them and like, wait a minute, this is just resistance. This is just a story I'm telling myself. Call it out. And then I like to say, I'm going to transform any of my resistance into what I call CEO resiliency. You, as a founder, are the CEO of your business. We forget that all the time. We forget it because we have to check the mail, send the invoice, check the email, answer the phone calls, do the demand generation, build the website. We have all this stuff we have to do. We forget that we're actually CEO, and the CEO does get to choose. So turn your resistance into resiliency. And the way that you do that is by pushing through it and recognizing this is just resistance. I know what to do. Okay. Next one is time chunking or time blocking. This is not new, but I'm a big fan of it. Blocking time basically creates focused work. And how you block your time is you really look at what is the schedule I have to keep. What are the time chunks or blocks that work best for me? I recommend starting with 1 or 2 hours until you really know yourself. Some people like chunks of 4 hours. I find that it's too easy to get defocused if you start with 4 hours. So start with 1 or 2. And then really look at the categories of activities that you need to perform and group them together. And then finally, what percent of time are you investing in those categories? So for example, you've got client work or fulfilling product orders. What percent of the time do you need to do that? Is it 30% based on your revenue? Is it 50? Is it 70? Whatever time is left over, you want to invest that in the right places, investing them in demand generation or relationship building or implementing a better process. But you want to think about it in terms of investing versus spending. The last hack I call do, delegate, or drop. We also did not create this, but I did create a way to think about it. And this is one of those ways of making things more fun and more simple. I do this with myself every quarter. I have a meeting with myself every quarter. Because I'm growing multiple companies, I can get sucked into things. And so I look at the things that I love to do that are very fulfilling, and I look at the things that are high impact. You want to have your investments be in this upper right-hand quadrant, things that you enjoy doing and things that are high impact. The things that you don't enjoy doing, but you need to do them, end up being down here. And then the things that you love to do, but maybe are low impact, are here. You obviously want to avoid this the best you can. So what you do, this is a very powerful tool. But now you do an overlay of do, delegate, or drop. So number one, you should always do things that are in the upper right-hand quadrant. I have found that the more time I'm spending there, the happier I am. Try to start to delegate the things that you don't like to do. Maybe it's posting on social media or, managing your CRM. The challenge is if your business isn't above 10K a month, you don't have the resources to delegate. And what I like to say there is suck it up, choose your hard. If you don't have the resources to delegate, then you need to do it because it still has to get done. And then also if it's in the upper left, this is where you could, I'm sorry, can somebody mute there? Yeah, so this is an area where you can get, it can be very dangerous for you. So that's why there's a question mark there. There are some things that you really like to do, but it's not really providing impact. Be very careful with those because that can cause you to be really happy, but it doesn't necessarily move the business forward. And then anything that you put in the quadrant that is low energy and low impact, you really want to drop it. And I'll be happy to debate that all day long, but you really do want to drop it. Okay, so let me review the 5 hacks. One is invest versus spend time. Secondly is learn to make moves versus motions. And you just have to learn that. Third is know your flow. Four is time chunks and time blocking. And five is do, delegate, or drop. There are three ways that we can support you. Number one is if you're ready to join Shifco, we have a promo where we've built a very, very powerful toolkit called Traction. And Traction will be part of your membership if you choose to join. If you're ready and you think it's time, now's the time to do it. Traction is already proving to be the single best tool that we have ever built in Shifco for having members move forward. If you're already a Shifco member, talk to your mentor about getting into Traction. We're about a third of the way through it, and we're going to run it again next month. Secondly is if you want a free coaching session, you can email me. There's my email right there, terri@shifco.global. I'll be happy to do a free coaching session with you. And then finally is you can attend as many events as you want.